You know what makes me sick? You know what makes me so angry? Find out today on the Richard Neese Podcast.
We believe in all the F words: faith, family, football, and fitness. Check us out on the Richard Neese Podcast every Saturday morning on WKUL.
Please subscribe. Please help us out by growing the channel. We want to help good people get to a better place. Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Richard Neese Podcast. It's Friday afternoon. It's not quite noon, close to it. And we're recording the show for our Saturday session with WKUL. Hope you guys tune in Saturday at 9:30.
We want to be as up to date as possible, so we realized that we missed like 3 or 4 days of news in between. So at least we only got 24 hours this time.
I agree. Got Dominic Gill here with me as always, taking care of being a co-host, and also he's the guy that puts it all together on the social media channels. What all are we doing now, social media wise, getting our message out? I've seen actually my kids have seen shorts and reels and all these other things that are popping up. I don't even remember saying that stuff. They're like, Dad, did you remember you said this? I said, oh yeah, I do remember which episode that was. So what all we got going on, Dom?
Right now, the YouTube channel, we're just plugging away on it, just feeding our long form content, and then also feeding it into the shorts. TikTok has still been it's been probably the best, the most productive ones as far as like the view counts and the engagement that we're getting. It's amazing how many people actually interact on YouTube. On TikTok, for positive and negative. More, it's been positive more lately, Richard. I know you're not on TikTok, like personally, so.
Well, good. I feel good.
Yeah, it's been more positive. A lot of it.
Beard, right, or something like that.
No, it's just some hot takes. You're getting more people agreeing with you. More so now than before, where we were just getting, seemed like we're getting hate.
Maybe get the algorithm geared towards those folks. It may be something like that.
It probably is.
So if you guys don't know, I run a couple different businesses. Most people locally know me from being Mr. Open House. I'm a real estate broker. Did a whole lot of open houses to build up my business on the sales side. I was actually, I think it was 2018, I forget what year it was. I sold more units than anybody else in Weikert at 132 units. Yeah. We sold a lot of houses, a lot of land. We did a lot of things. And I realized that wasn't what I want to do long term, but it was a goal that I hit. So that's what a lot of people know me for. Some people know me locally too for fix and flips. So we do a lot of residential fix and flips. We find distressed properties. I was also a deputy here in Coleman County at one time, canine officer. If you know me from there, hopefully good things come from that. But I may have arrested you at one time. But either way, I hope you're living right. Let's say that. So I've done a lot of different things. We got a couple small businesses, but primarily people know me from real estate. Would you agree with that, Dominic?
I would agree with that, yeah.
And signage and sales. I mean, the signage for the real estate. So most people now, they call me about rental properties and call me about fix and flips and distressed properties. And I'll tell you one thing that makes me so frustrated is when people get taken advantage of. I will tell you up front 100% that my company is for profit. I'm trying to negotiate a good deal for people that are in a distressed situation. Sometimes that has to do with some sort of lien on their property, foreclosures. It may be that their house has fallen in. They can't do anything with it. It may be that nobody can get clear title, and I'm willing to take that risk. But I can't stand for somebody to lie to another person, lie to the public, lie to an old man or somebody that has nothing, they don't have any knowledge about real estate in order to make a buck. It ticks me off so much. Dominic, you have any idea what I'm talking about?
100%. And again, unfortunately, it happens within the real estate industry amongst the real estate professionals who are supposed to be held to a higher standard too.
Absolutely. It
happens very, very often in that world as well. I've seen it firsthand many, many times. But to me, willful, if you made an accidental error you made an incorrect statement accidentally. Yeah. That's one thing. Sure. We all do that. It's whenever there's an intentional deceitfulness is where that's a huge line draw for me, that you're willing to actually take advantage of that person by deceiving that person. To me, that's and even from omission of information too. Yep. Not necessarily just from lies, just omitting pertinent information that's going to affect them negatively. So
well, and it's so tough because real estate sales, it's such a low entry barrier, barrier entry into especially Alabama, and you have buyer beware, and so basically you have an agent, you're paying them, but there's not a whole lot of representation going on in some cases. I have a lot of real estate friends. I have a lot of real estate agent friends, real estate brokers. Some are good. Some are good people. They don't really know what they're doing on the real estate sales side from my perspective. And some people are being taken advantage of because that is their business. So real estate agents are in the business of selling houses, right? So by selling the houses, they're getting buyers, they're getting sellers, they're getting all these people that come. And the way that they do that typically is because they have to have what? They have to have product. So how do you get product in real estate sales, Dominic?
You have to go in and create pressure for more listings, or create some.
So listings are the thing that the people are actually buying. It's not. I mean, you hear business, or they have to know and trust you before they'll work with you, things like that, and I believe that. But I also see that if I don't have a house to sell, it's really, really hard for me to get any interest from buyers in general. Yeah, I've got to have honey for that fly to come to, right? And that's what you're looking at is the listing side. So this wasn't even what I was going to get onto, Dominic, but it kind of veered me.
Well, we both have a little bit of experience in real estate.
So what I see is, and I will tell people when I used to work on a regular basis with buyers and sellers, I told them that my job was to help them work through the process of selling their home or finding a purchase. Got some folks calling me, sorry. And my goal is to make it as seamless as possible, to make sure that you can get the most money for your house for the least amount of effort on your part, and do it as quickly as possible. I explain different things on the sales side that, if we list at a lower price, then the market may correct, or we may leave money on the table. If we list at a higher price, then your house may get stale, or you may get one person that comes and buys it, and they don't care what the price is or what the comps say. It just pisses me off so much when I see these agents out there that in order to get a listing, they will tell a seller, oh, price per square foot on your house is X.
Right.
So that means you're going to get this amount of money. Dominic, what kind of fallacies are in a price per square foot when you look at 1,000 square foot home versus a 2,500 square foot home? Is it apples to apples?
Not even close. The biggest thing is
What do you think that is?
Whenever you have a surplus of something, in this case, square footage, there's a natural discounted towards the larger area that there is. So someone who's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that's around, let's say, 1,400 square feet, which is very ideal for a starter home, that's typically going to get your highest volume per 1 square foot.
Right.
That you're going to get the highest number per square foot in that price range, just because the demand for that size is there. Whereas if you have a 2,500, 3,500 square foot home, that's going to, you get a lot of wasted space, and that budget, it doesn't translate 1-to-1 because it's a less desirable home because there's less people in that market.
Sure.
So therefore there's a natural discount per square foot on that, right? For that. So for instance, I sold a house in Coleman not too long ago, and it was about 1,200 square feet. No, I'm sorry. It was 1,100 square feet. And it was nice, don't get me wrong, but it got close to $200 a square foot. Right. That's not going to translate to the house for a 2,500 square foot house, 5 houses down the road. It's not going to go.
It may be nicer. It may have nicer finishes. It may have a lot of nicer things. Yeah, I agree with that, Don.
And literally a house right down the road that I was trying to sell for a while for, I think it was right around $350. So price per square foot, and the house for $350 sat forever. The one that I was selling, which is literally, it's about 5 houses away, but it sold at $200 a square foot versus there.
Right. But there are a lot of things that factor into that. What you're talking about is absolutely true. There's also a certain demographic and a price point as far as what is comparable to rent, what is the medium income. There's so many things that factor into that, because you said supply and demand as far as the square footage. I say supply and demand as far as the buyers that are capable of purchasing at that price point. If we have more buyers that can purchase at $180,000 house, well, that is typically going to go for higher price per square foot.
Exactly.
If as soon as that bump happens, and this is traditional for kind of Coleman County area, North Alabama, when you get over the 250 mark, you start going backwards off of that per square foot.
Right.
And so when you start factoring in $140 to $200 a foot, well, it starts slowly trickling down the more square footage you have. And what drives me crazy is you have inexperienced agents or people that don't care that come in and they get a seller's mindset of, oh, well, I sold this house for $200 a foot. That was 1,000 square feet. So that means that this 3,000 square foot should go for $600,000. Oh, we'll discount it a little bit, because you want to move it fast, and we'll go $550. So this seller's thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to make tons and tons of money off of this.
Yeah,
And
unrealistic
now-
expectations.
Now they're stuck in that place of this is what my house is worth, even though you don't have anybody qualified that can do that. And what happens more often than not is they don't even provide comps for it or true comparables for that house. If you do that, I can see some grace of pushing the price up some if you show comparables that actually are either in the school district, the neighborhood, some sort of truly comparable feel. Because you get one, like if you go across the county, across the city, school districts, there's so many different factors that come into this. And so it just frustrates me when you have agents that take advantage of this. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know right now that I, at this point, only sell my own houses. We list and sell our fix and flip houses. And we don't work with buyers anymore either. We have transitioned away from that. That's not our bread and butter. We want to make sure we're going out and doing things that most people can't, which are fixing up these distressed properties. And so we're only taking on our own properties. This is the first take. I haven't told anybody else that we've been transitioning towards that for a while. But at this point, we just want to manage our own properties. We just want to sell our own properties. And then we have a great group of referral partners, whether that's Wes Warren, Gina Wilhite, there's several others that we use on different things for different areas. I give specialists, people that know certain areas, certain price points, I send referrals to those guys. That's what we try and do on a regular basis. And if Wes, you're listening, we've been trying to refer several to you lately, mostly us trying to buy stuff with you. So thank you for listening. We know that you're our number 1, 2, and 3 subscriber on YouTube, so thank you so much. But anyways, so we try and help.
It'll be our first subscriber when we start the OnlyFans.
Oh, easy now. So Wes might already have those.
Right.
But anyways, we have a lot of great real estate agents. We have some great real estate agents out there, but there are a lot that are misleading folks too.
I mean, and I would say, gosh, like, I was talking to somebody else the other day. I was like, because they were asking about my exit from real estate. I was like, I probably only like about 40% of the agents in the market.
Sure.
And only about 20% of those are actually any good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, real estate's a hard gig to have because you've got to constantly be positive. You've got to be telling folks hard. I was successful, I feel like, because first off, we worked hard, but second off, because people trusted me. If I told them the price was the price, and they said, oh, what about listing $30,000 higher? I would say, I'm not your agent. If you want to list it at that price, I don't think that it's worth our marketing dollars. I don't think it's worth your time to put it out there at that price. And I would say eight out of 9 times, they would come back to me and say, you were right. Well, it's too late. The house is stale at this point.
Yeah, you lost your window of opportunity.
You lost the momentum. That's exactly right.
And then whenever you do price your house out into fair market area, into the fair market value, they see the days on the market, and the first thing they think is, they'll take less.
Absolutely.
Whenever you could have priced it out originally to what fair market value would be, even a little higher, to where that there was some negotiating room. And I'm talking within 2%, not 10%, 2%.
That's right.
That you're about 2% higher than what fair market value is. And you're leaving that little bit of wiggle room. You're going to get a higher net overall for your house versus let's go ahead and let's go and bring in $100,000 over the list price because, hey, I heard my cousin in Nashville, Tennessee got $200,000 over asking for their house in 2020. So we're going to try to do the same thing. It's like, well, the market adjusted since 2020 over there. So every house is now, that house will go for now 250 over what he originally asked for it.
That's exactly.
There's so many factors that you have to go into there. The best thing to do is to actually get a fair market analysis on what your house is worth, or something else that we call is a BPO in the real estate industry, a broker price opinion, just saying this is what we believe should sell for. I would always run my prices over with my broker every time. I would say, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. Here are a few pictures of the house. What do you think? Without me telling you a price, what is your estimate on what it is, without me telling them what we're looking at doing? And
Absolutely.
We would align ourselves with that and have that conversation. Me and Wes would have that conversation about where we think that house should be priced. And then I would present it to the seller and say, hey, look, whether it's for the good or for the bad, we believe this is the fair market value.
Right.
And most of the times I would love it if I'm wrong and it goes for a lot more. I would like to be wrong, but for the most part, based on all the data that I'm seeing, with all the comps that I'm looking out there, based on the eye test too, which is very important. The eye test is extremely important. This is what I believe that the value of the house is going to be. And it's insane how often I was right about where it would sell. Houses that I lost their listing, and then I see it closing in the system later.
That's
Closed at the price I suggested.
Sure.
You know,
or sometimes below. I think the challenge on that that we see so often is that you put it out on the market at that higher price, and the market tells you what it's going to do. You put it out there lower than what you think that price should be. Guess what? The market tells you what it's going to do too, because you have multiple offers. It drives the price up. You have better terms. And that's the way I would always go at it with folks when I was selling on a regular basis is I want to get you the most money possible. I make more money when we close at a higher price point. We have the ability to choose who we want to work with and our terms if we have multiple offers. If we have one, then we get held hostage by that one person. So we would try to price it at market value, and the market would tell us. But the key on that is comps. So I always suggest, even when I would get a listing and somebody would say, look, you're our guy, we love you, we trust you, blah, blah, blah. I would say, okay, but I would encourage you to ask somebody else if you don't agree with our pricing. Have them explain to you why they think it should go for more, because I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. I was not 100 for 100. I made some mistakes. I left money on the table for customers, $10,000, $5,000 here or there. It's hard to tell from this point, but I also saw many, many times when folks spent 5 extra mortgage payments when they'd have to. So it's obviously not a science. There's some art to it. You've got to figure out what works best in different areas, stuff like that. But the key is make sure that you're asking multiple people. Make sure that you get different opinions. And the Zestimate is not a second opinion. You need to really have somebody that can show you the comparables from the MLS if you're going to use an agent. If you're not going to use an agent, then it's a Wild West too. So it's a hard thing to say. Locally, I'm happy to give folks consultation at a low level. I'm happy to tell them, this is what I think. This is a ballpark where I think it should be at. But talk to somebody that specializes in that area. That wasn't even what I was fired up about, but it kind of got my brain thinking.
We got to stop doing these opening teasers on what we're going to talk about. We just get to just jump right into what we're going to talk about because it always switches.
That's definitely the case. So I've been dealing with, as you know, Dominic, we do fix and flip properties, and some of the stuff that we run into are foundation issues. We have floor rot. We have health and safety issues. And I went out and looked at a house. I'm not going to say the address. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to say the name of the company that came on the backside. But we looked at this, and just the foundation looked like with our guys doing it, going to cost $10,000 to $15,000. Just the foundation. That's not the reno on the inside. That's not the roof. That's not landscaping. That's not any of the other stuff. We had the reno pegged at about 50 to 60 grand in order to get it to where it was in a good, above rental standard that we could list it for. We're not talking about the Taj Mahal, but 50 to 60 on that. And that's with our own labor costs. That's not subs that may charge you extra, that may not show up, extra costs. And so we told this lady, I tried to work it to where we would just assume her payment, which is an option. We've assumed payments before. We've taken over payments where we paid while we fixed it up because the fees on the closing would have put us out of budget. And so we're trying to save folks money on that side. There's also a benefit to me if they have a low interest rate that I can give them more for it. There's lots of ways we can work that kind of stuff. But what we ran into was she said, no, I'm sorry, we can't take less than that. So I understand, no problem. If you want me to help you negotiate a short sale, I'll do that. No cost. We can help you on that side, but we can't buy it for the price that you're saying you need. She said, that's okay. I got an $80,000 offer. We offered $55,000 on this one. I said, oh, okay. Well, great. I'm happy for you. I hope that works out. Just make sure that you get it in writing. If you need any suggestions on closing attorney or something like that, I'm happy you got more money out of it. If somebody can do a better job for us, cheaper, great. I'm not upset about that. I want you to do well with your house. Guess who they got a contract from, Dominic? Any guesses? Not company, but what type of a real estate investor did they get a contract from?
Oh, gosh. Wholesaler.
A wholesaler.
Yeah.
So we'll explain what a wholesaler is just in general terms.
So a wholesaler is, and again, I'm not going to go and try to knock that industry in a hole, but for the most part, they're pretty shady.
Let me take the lead on this. A wholesaler is a person that buys a real estate contract. They get a contract and they buy it and they sell it to somebody else. They're not real estate agents in most cases. They're not real estate brokers. They are selling a piece of paper, which is a right to a contract. So an example would be if I negotiate Dominic down to $55,000 and he's happy with that, I say, okay, great. Now give me 60 to 90 days and I'm going to close this thing. But really what I'm doing on the 60 to 90 days, I'm trying to find Bob over here who will pay me $80,000 for that same contract, and I have no risk in it except the earnest money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, there's a negative reputation from wholesalers of being shady. And I used to say, whatever, it's a part of the business. Now I would agree. I deal with more and more on a daily basis. We had a knockdown drag out with a wholesaler that threatened to take me to the real estate commission and all this stuff because I was working in bad faith, even though the contract wasn't valid. We had a bunch of other stuff happen. So I've had negative experiences with wholesalers recently too. Now, are there good wholesalers out there that don't?
Absolutely, and everything, and everything. Yeah,
just like real estate agents, just like car salesmen, just like all that stuff.
Every industry, politicians, you name it. If there's money involved, shadiness follows.
That's right. So what happened with these folks are they locked in an $80,000 contract. Now, mind you, these folks wanted me to close in 2 weeks because they had to get another house because of health and safety issues. But when I let them know what was going on, I was cruising through Facebook looking for houses. And I see, that same house, it's under contract, but they're shopping out to investors that $80,000 that they wanted $115,000 for now. So they want to make a $35,000 wholesale. I'm not mad about that. If the money's there and you negotiate a good deal, you do what you do. I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's fine. You do what you do. But the thing that really bothered me was that they also had $15,000 in repairs to get it in good condition, and it showed an ARV of $250,000. So they're trying to first off lie to investors and tell them it's only $15,000 to fix it up. Then they're also lying to the person they have a contract with. I can't verify that, but more than likely they're telling them, I'm going to close with you in a month. What they're looking for is a cash investor to close with them faster so that they never have to put any money down. Does that make sense? There's lots of pieces moving there, but basically they're not telling the truth to the person they have a contract with, the owner of the house. The owner of the house thinks that they're going to get the house sold to this person within the 30 days or whatever time frame they said, and they're making plans with their life to move forward. What's the drawback on that, Dom?
From the surface level, you can't see any. The biggest drawback from that is just the risk and the hassle, and just really not having a shored up contract with a real buyer on the back end. That's the biggest drawback. So there. What
happens if they can't find a buyer in most cases?
Oh, they lose their money. They lose whatever
earnest money, which is usually $100. So how does that help the homeowner if they're making plans?
I see what you're saying now.
You're thinking from the perspective of the wholesaler. I'm thinking from the perspective of the homeowner who has no real estate experience. They think, I trust these people. We have a legal contract. The contract is also through their lender or their lawyer, the wholesaler, not the homeowner. So they're getting stacked. All the odds are getting stacked against the homeowner, but they're making plans to do something. I saw this happen in person with the wholesale deal that we were doing. We had to back out the wholesale deal. The contract was valid. They had no intention of buying the house. They were just shopping it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so me as a homeowner, I'm making plans. I'm getting a deposit down for my rental that I'm moving into. I'm moving grandma. And then, no, sorry, the contract says we have 30 days. Now we're out. Here's your $100. It just makes me so dang mad to see people taking advantage of homeowners. And typically these are elderly folks and low IQ people who have no business experience, things like that. They're in a bad spot. And I'll tell you, we don't put people in worse spots than they're already in. We try our best to help them every way possible. Sometimes we give them more than what we really should be giving them on the contract. We're trying to help them get to a better place, trying to help them find rental housing. Sometimes that's trying to help them find a mental facility that they can go to, or rehab facilities, things like that. And so to see these wholesalers that are calling nationwide to get a contract, they're lying to people. And just, it makes me so stinking mad, Dom, to see people locally, but anywhere, get taken advantage of by somebody that says, I'll give you more than what your house is worth. Mm-hmm. How do we educate folks, Dom? They're not listening to me right now.
No, they're definitely not going to. And then at the end of the day, and I hate to even have this kind of a take on it, is that, first of all, they have to have interest in helping themselves out in their situation, to educate themselves about what the process is going through. So in a lot of ways, these people are just kind of out of luck, and for the most, because they don't want to go and take the initiative, the incentive to figure out their problem. They're just too busy living life and trying to be inconvenient. Yeah. They don't want to have the inconvenience of anything in their life. So there's sad to say, I cannot see an answer without getting that person to want to care. It's kind of like someone who's got an addiction.
Sure.
Is like, before they can fix their addiction, they have to admit they have to admit they have a problem.
That's right.
In the same way, when it comes down to education and going through life and these functions, you have to admit, I'm ignorant on this right here, and I have a desire to learn more about it before I jump into this. Which again, I'm the polar opposite. I'm like, I'm going to try to do this myself. I'm going to learn everything I can about something up front, to the point where it actually gets me in trouble whenever I need to be trusting a professional.
Right.
You know?
The interesting part about this, though, Dom, is there has actually been legislation passed in the last couple of years that makes these wholesalers disclose what they're doing. Because what will happen is now these folks will shop out.
But we know, but we also know how much people listen to disclosures.
Oh, yeah.
And all disclosures means is I'm handing you a piece of paper, you're signing it, and because you signed it, you were disclosed. You didn't have to.
Oh, this paper.
You can't prove
27 pages. Yeah.
You can't prove they read or they didn't read the disclosure.
Dom, we've already, like the person that I dealt with, they did not disclose.
Oh, okay, that's different.
So they didn't disclose anything. There's no documentation showing that, and the penalty on that can be significant, $50,000, $100,000. But the issue is who's going to tell on them. Who's going to report these folks for not disclosing? Because technically for me, like the issue that we ran into is this person said because I'm a real estate broker that she would report me to the Alabama Real Estate Commission for interfering with an active contract. I mean, I can see where you could get with that, but regardless, it's going to be a ding on my record. I'm going to have an investigator call. It's going to be all this stuff. But this person is taking advantage of someone that has no real estate experience. So what do you do at that point?
You see a violation. I mean, that's where, I mean, at the end of the day, shouldn't it be that?
But how do you know there was a violation? You've got to have,
was it disclosed to you?
You've got to have, no, it wasn't disclosed to me.
Well,
so you've got to have access.
Can't do nothing to it. Yeah.
So you've got to have access to the paperwork that's a private contract between these people. And I know we're kind of getting in the weeds on this, but the legislation was passed to protect folks. And what it comes down to, in my opinion, is these closing attorneys, these closing agencies, they're acting on behalf of these wholesalers. If they don't have the documentation, they should be required to report. That's what I think should happen. In the same way that if a police officer, a nurse, a school employee sees abuse of a child, they're mandatory reporters. So I feel like these closing attorneys should be mandatory reporters, or they should lose their license and face at least fines, if not some other punishment. So I'm throwing it out there. I'm not running for office or anything. But
well, what it comes down to is that at the end of the day, it's a free market for them too. And that if you start having... Again, it's like a buddy of mine was talked about. He said the best home inspectors don't make it because
that's right.
The ones that do their job actually don't get business. Why? Because of real estate agents. Because they get all their business from real, and if they actually report on actual issues on some of these houses,
that's right.
And so they won't. The real estate agent will stop referring them because they're like, shoot. You're a deal killer.
Same about appraisers.
Yeah. Oh, you shoot. And that's why we can't do. That's why we can't select appraisals anymore.
Well, you can't select, but I mean, you start looking at issues. The bank will stop putting it. You can blackball certain appraisers if they continue to have houses that don't hit the standard, right? Because if the appraisal doesn't make it, the deal's dead.
Absolutely.
So if it's dead so many times, then the bank's gonna say, "Well, we're not gonna use that person anymore. We're not allowing them to be in the pool."
Oh, no, absolutely.
So there's good and bad with that. I'm not a fan of regulation by any means. No, we're coming up on the end of the show, Dom. I just wanted to let folks know, if you have a question about if you're dealing with a wholesaler, if you have a question on if you're dealing with a real estate agent or an investor, you can give me a call. I'll give you my number right now. You can shoot me a text message. You can send me a Facebook message, 256-708-1511. I'd be happy to either tell you or refer you to a source that can help you make a good decision. I'm not going to tell you if it's a good deal. I'm not going to tell you if you should make more money off of it, nothing like that. But I will give you the information that these folks aren't giving you because it's just wrong for people to be taking advantage of on that side. I'll let you finish it out, Dom. I think we got like 1 minute left.
Yep. All right, everybody. Be sure that all you in the radio land to find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Find us, follow us any way possible, subscribe, interact with us, give us more content. It helps out a lot. And if you're on YouTube, please like the video.
Absolutely.
It's been a long week. It's Friday.
Absolutely. So we believe in helping good people get to a better place. We want to clean up our community. We're trying to make our world, our community better. Please support us in any way that you can. And we're happy to give you this information. If you want to know something about, if you have the topics or something else you want to learn about, please let us know.
You did it.